Welcome to Inspired Changemakers, a podcast about all the amazing things people are doing to make the world a better place. This podcast is about creating change and the moments that inspired our guests to activate. My name is Julia Healy, and I'm the CEO of United Charitable. Stay tuned to be inspired. Well, Natasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Inspired Changemakers is all about people that are making an active difference in people's lives and their community, and I could not think of somebody that is doing that more than you. So I'm going to start with your bio. Natasha Bryson, PhD and JD, is a tenured associate professor at the University of South Carolina's College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management. Before joining USC, she was a tenured associate professor at Texas A&M University. She practiced entertainment and sports law, specializing in contract negotiation, licensing, and athlete branding. In addition to holding various leadership roles, you have published over 50 research articles and have received multiple awards, recognizing her contributions to research and education in her field. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Were you 5 and were like, yes, I'm going to be a lawyer?
Absolutely.
Were you really?
Yeah, well, it was that and an astronaut.
Okay.
So I'm of that age when the shuttle blew up.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, well, guess I'm not going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a lawyer. But early on, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah.
And where did you grow up?
My father was in the military.
Okay.
He was in the Navy. And so we did a little bit of traveling, a lot of time in Virginia,
Okay.
so Chesapeake, Portsmouth, and that area. And then when I was about 12, actually I was a little older, I was 13, we moved to La Maddalena, Italy. So right off the coast of Sardinia.
Oh my God.
And so I finished up 8th grade. So I guess that was 13, 14, finished up 8th grade. And then we didn't have a high school on our island. So I ended up going to, I guess you could call it almost boarding school, but it was military students who their parents were also around the Mediterranean. And so I lived in a dorm with about 60 other students. I saw my parents during Christmas, Easter, and during the summer for 2 years. And originally I was so scared because I'd never been away from home.
Right.
And so at 14, you're off without any real supervision. We did have a house mother. And so we lived in this dorm. And I remember the first 3 weeks, I just was like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And I don't know what happened. I think I just leaned into it and said, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to really learn about myself and to be around people who are like me, myself. And so, yeah, that's what I did for high school for my first 2 years. And then my father didn't like that the family was so far apart.
Okay.
So we moved to LaGrange, Georgia. And so I went from Spain to LaGrange. And you talk about a shock for a teenager who has been abroad, and then you end up in this southern Georgia town where everybody talks like this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of here. And so I ended up graduating, and same thing, knew I was going to law school, but I went to Florida State for undergrad, double majored and minored in Spanish since I lived in Spain for 2 years. And so I went there and did a degree. Well, basically stayed there for 5 years instead of the normal 4 because of the double major, but did everything you could experience from pledging a sorority, being an orientation leader. I was a RA.
Okay.
Which was fun. That I did in a co-ed dorm. So the stories are quite endless, to say the least. But loved being at Florida State. And then after there, went to law school at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
And after that, went and got a master's in sport administration from Georgia State.
And so is that when when you started to realize you love the law, but you loved practicing the law in specific areas?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So during law school, I became interested in entertainment law.
Okay.
And
why?
An intern.
Why? What about that kind of law that made you so fascinated?
To be honest, I was dating someone And that was their area of interest.
Hysterical. Isn't it funny how things just like happen? Okay, that's so funny.
That did not work out.
Okay.
But the interest in entertainment law did. And actually I interned with a law firm and loved what I did. And then after graduating from law school, I felt like I still needed to do something different.
Okay.
And I tell students that I mentor that law school is very different from what most people perceive it to be.
Uh-huh.
And so I have this whole conversation with them about what to expect, because I didn't have that conversation for me. And
is it a lot of reading and writing?
It's a lot of reading and writing, but it can be challenging. You have to think that you have the best of the best going to a law school, and finding your place in that ecosystem can be challenging. And so when I mentor students, I talk about that challenge. And the reality is I came out of law school and I was like, I'm not practicing law.
Really?
So I tell this story, and now of course the whole world's going to know it, but signed up to get a master's in English. And so my undergraduate degree was in English. And I said, I'm going to teach English.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk Toni Morrison all day, every day.
Okay.
And so here's where the shift happened. And I'm glad I'm telling this story to you, because there's kind of a part 2 to this.
Yeah.
So I had always been involved in sport. I ran track and cross country in high school, and I was like, I played basketball with my dad. We used to play pickup basketball.
Okay.
Not very good at it. I was all elbows and, very aggressive player when I did play on the courts. But what ended up happening is I went down to the men's basketball office and said I wanted to volunteer because I needed another outlet other than just school. And I met Coach Michael Perry.
Okay.
And I'm telling him my background. He's like, you've been to law school and now you're getting this master's in English and you have this connection to sport. Why are you not in sport administration? And I said, what is that? And he said, I'm going to take you down to meet with Dr. Cooter. And so I was like, okay, Dr. who? And he's like, Dr. Rankin Cooter. And I was like, okay. So I go in to meet with Dr. Cooter, and he said, you should be in this program. And I was like, okay. So he tells me about it. It's essentially the business of sport. So every class is marketing or finance or HR and law, of course.
Right.
And so I said, this sounds intriguing. Better than my idea of getting this master's in English. So I dropped all of my English classes. And I remember, and signed up for the classes that Dr. Cooter recommended. And I remember my advisor sending me a message in the English department. It's like, what are all of these classes? And I said, I'm in the program. And I said, boy, I better get in this program because I burned this bridge. And I got into the program. I sat in my first class and I felt like I was at home. Like it was something I had been missing, and I found it in that program.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so I actually, I guess, found my love of the law in that program as well. And so after that, I got a job as assistant legal counsel for USA Track and Field.
Oh my God.
And loved the job, but it just, Georgia was calling me. I'll put it like that. And so I signed up to take the state bar in Georgia.
Okay.
And Dr. Cooter reached out to me and said, well, you're going to be back in the state. Are you interested in teaching? And I was like, teaching? Now, what's so funny is I had this idea of teaching before I got into sport administration or sport management. And when he said that to me, I was like, okay, I'm studying for the bar. I might as well.
Right.
And I got into the classroom and I loved it.
Hmm.
And passed the bar. And so I was like, okay, do I stay teaching? Do I fulfill this dream of being a lawyer?
Yeah.
And I want to say the universe had a plan for me.
Right.
Because Georgia State had offered me a 1-year teaching position. It was temporary.
Okay.
And it was only 1 year. And so after that, I was like, what am I going to do? And I said, I have this law degree. I'm licensed to practice. And like most students that I encounter in sport management, they think about law and they think about being an agent.
Yeah.
So I tried being an agent. And during that time, so probably almost 25 years ago, and it's still challenging for women, but it was really challenging for women. And what I found was that it wasn't, I didn't want to be on that side of things.
Right.
That I didn't want to have to try to get clients and negotiate to get them deals and sign to a team. And then I remembered this entertainment background that I had.
Yeah.
And said, you know what? I'm going to go back to entertainment law. This is where I have the experience. I've interned with firms, and I even interned with a financial planning firm to really learn the business. And so I opened up my own shop and started my own practice and contract drafting and just doing whatever I could to help songwriters, producers, independent record labels. And that actually was when I met my business partner and my life partner, Jason. And so we started doing workshops to help small businesses who wanted to get into sponsorship. We actually did seminars to teach them how to go after sponsors and
Wow.
corporate partners. And so we did these one-day workshops for them. And what was nice is there was this great balance between my education and being able to teach these classes and Jason's practitioner side of going after these types of partnerships. And so that was kind of like the first business from working with my legal practice to kind of shifting it to more of a management and marketing side of things. And so what we ended up doing was out of that business, we started a company called 228 Management and Consulting. And with that company, we did music licensing.
So fun.
And it was fun because what we did is we came up with the slogan of opening doors for independent artists. They weren't signed. They had all this great content. And that's what we did. We went and we placed music for them in video games, movies, television shows. But what started to also shift was our network was changing. It wasn't just entertainment. I had athletes who were NFL players, NBA, WNBA, Olympians, and they had interesting needs that I said, okay, there's something intriguing about this part of entertainment and sport, and started talking to clients about branding and marketing. And so the entertainment side of 228 shifted to become athletic marketing and management. And so what we did through that company is solely focus on helping athletes build their brand to do camps, clinics, social media, whatever they needed in order to leverage that brand equity that they had attained while they were playing. And so in doing that, work with them, I became really intrigued on what is it that helps athletes to build that brand, how did they manage it, and then ultimately leverage what they built in that brand equity. And so the more I kept digging into it, I became interested in research.
Oh,
And how do I figure out ways to help these athletes who may have limited career playing time?
right.
And the average is it's appalling depending on the sport, because you may look up as an athlete and you're retired in your 20s or your
Right.
30s with another 30 years before you officially retire.
Right.
And so I was like, what is it?
Right.
What is it that allows them to be able to do this? And how do consumers perceive them? And so my first publication was looking at athletes and false advertising and potential endorsement liability. I know.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, if you lend your brand to these other products and services, and let's say they are, I'm just going to say it like this, they're crap.
Yeah.
What happens to the athlete? Not necessarily what happens to the company,
Right.
but what happens to the athlete and other opportunities to do that.
I did not pay attention to branding deals at all until Allen Iverson
Yeah.
And he made his big deal with Nike that didn't pay him for like 30 years and paid him for a streamline of like, and I was like, oh, wow, like this is like real negotiation. And like, thank God, I think it was Nike or I'm not sure. I think.
Yeah. He might have been Reebok.
He might have been Reebok. Yeah. But it's one of those things that you don't think about.
No.
And you don't, and as the, consumer, that's just,
right.
Okay, this artist is with this brand, this artist is with this brand, right? Like you don't think about it at all. But what happens if the product is bad? Or how about if the artist does some stuff that's not great either?
Absolutely.
Like how are both sides protect? Oh, that legal, your little.
And so I was like, okay, this is really intriguing for me. And so I went, well, I guess kind of the segue is I went back to teaching at Georgia State.
Okay.
So I've been practicing law and doing real estate. So I did entertainment, sports, and real estate. And so I got a call from Dr. Cooter and said, again, do you want to be back in the classroom? And I was like, well, I'm my own boss.
Right.
So why not go back into the classroom and teach this one class?
One class.
And I taught it, and that whole feeling of being in the classroom came back again. And the fortunate part of what I was doing in the classroom and also with my business, I had that flexibility to really kind of hone my skills as a teacher.
Yeah.
And I remember being able, like getting back into the classroom and that idea of, man, this is phenomenal.
And I'm going to say, I thought I was going to be a teacher my whole life. I was actually went to American University and I was going to be a math teacher because loved it. And you know how they make you take like gen ed classes?
Yeah.
And I went to my counselor and I was like, okay, easiest gen ed class. Like I'm going to be a teacher. Like I'm going to teach math. It'll be fine. He was like, okay, well, accounting will be easier for you. And I was like, okay. I took an accounting class. That was it. Transferred out of I loved accounting so much. I love the whole business of it. I love debits and credits. I love financial statements. I love every part of that.
I'll tell you what grade I got in accounting.
And it kind of changed my trajectory of what my undergrad degree is. My MBA is in finance. And so I think it's really funny that you have these little life experiences that it's not meant for anything, but it changes the trajectory.
Absolutely.
And as I got promoted in United Charitable in my company, I was teaching the accountants less and less. So somebody suggested that I teach community college. And I was like, what's that going to be like? And so I taught an intro to accounting class at my local community college. And I fell absolutely in love with teaching. I fell in love with, because everyone's like, accounting. Nobody thinks it's a sexy subject. Now you're in entertainment and a sports and but the law people.
I taught finance. And that was the interesting thing about being at Georgia State. I learned to teach every class in sport management. So it wasn't just sport law.
Right.
I'm teaching finance. I'm teaching revenue and sales generation.
Awesome.
Budget, let's see what else, facilities,
pricing strategies, you're teaching.
Strategies. And so in doing that, I really learned to prepare the students for the industry. So that legal side of me kind of got pushed to the side a little bit, but here I was developing and training the next generation of sport management professionals.
And I think that there's something about looking into students' eyes and having when they have a light bulb moment of their own.
Yeah.
And for them to think, and it's funny because, this being a teacher, you think about how you can make your classroom people more engaged. You think about it always. And I was doing an event at the Ford Museum and they had some of the green sheets of the old school green sheets and how they had to apply their first liability on their books. And I'm taking pictures, I'm adding it to my, sending it to my announcement on my Blackboard. And I'm thinking these kids must think or students, it's not just all kids, but but there is something about that when you feel that, it is hard, even though you could be really good at the law and really good at marketing and really good at teaching athletes how to brand themselves, which is so important, and to make right branding deals. There is something that when you feel that inside you, that calling, it is hard to walk away from.
And it's even just that split between the practicing law and getting into the classroom for me. What I when I went into the classroom, I wanted my students to learn something in every class that they could take with them to their internship, to their job,
Right.
because I was teaching master students.
Oh, wow.
And so the practical aspect of that was so important for them. And I remember in the development and revenue generation class, that's the class that was my foundation for the partnership with Jason for
Okay.
Sponsorship 101, which we did. And so I told my students, I said, you know what? I'm going to get you on the phones. You're going to sell. And my first partnership was with the Atlanta Dream. And I remember having to manage the class, and I thought they were going to mutiny because it's challenging, especially at that time. The Dream weren't as popular as they are now, and so the students had challenges in selling. But we made it through. And so then, but the next time I taught the class, I said, well, you know what? Let's partner with the Braves.
Oh.
So I partnered with the Braves for 2 years. I believe it was 2 years, maybe 3. So 1 year with the Dream, 3 years with the Braves. And then I ended up also partnering with the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, wow.
And so I had the students actually making cold calls.
Love it.
And being able to identify potential individual game buyers, potential groups to sell to. And it was that class that Texas A&M wanted. And so that's how I got hired at Texas A&M.
Okay.
One facet, because also while I'm teaching all these classes,
Running your own business,
running my own business, I went back for a PhD.
I'd like to thank United Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. United Charitable is a national nonprofit that focuses on guiding you on your charitable journey. Whether you like to simply streamline your giving or you like to create your own charitable initiative, United Charitable has the knowledge and resources to support you. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in our bio.
And not a PhD at the same school I'm teaching at. One that was an hour and a half away. So I'm teaching at Georgia State and ended up getting my PhD from the University of Georgia, where I also got my law degree. So I'm a double dog. And so driving back and forth to go to class and then to teach class. And really for probably the first 3 years, it took me 4 years, 3 years of doing that degree, I didn't want my students to know. Because one of the things I want them to always feel is that I am their focus.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what else I have going on. So they didn't know until my last year that I was working on this PhD.
What did you write your dissertation on?
Okay, so I had this grandiose idea of conceptualizing a model that combined the law and marketing related to consumer advertising deception.
Okay.
I said I had a grandiose idea. I mean, it's done, it's published, but now I look at it and I can see all the holes in it and what I should have done with it. But looking at trying to merge, once again, those two sides of me, the law and marketing, into a study. And I remembered the first time I submitted the paper.
Yeah.
And it was probably the top journal I wanted to get it in. And they were like, this is conceptually flawed. And I'm like, oh,
heartbroken.
What am I going to do now? But I had so much data that I was able to figure out a way to make an argument and really say that it's important to consider advertisements from 3 different components: a cognitive, affective, and behavioral component. So cognitive is what you believe about a product. Affective would be your attitude, and behavioral, purchase decision, purchase intention, kind of things, purchase behavior. And so I was trying to build out this model to kind of say, these are 3 important components of advertising. And so even tying that to the athlete, if you can get people to believe a certain way, to change their attitudes, eventually you will see purchase intention or purchase behavior. But that was, I'd hoped to conquer the world. And now when I mentor my students, I'm like, just get done. You're not going to solve the world's problems. I've tried it. It doesn't, no, just get done.
But I want to play around really with the idea of that we can be 2 things.
Yes.
I've spoken to so many people, and so many of the time we get pigeonholed, or we get told we're good at one thing. So the other thing can't be true.
Right.
And I'm trying to just get it out there that you can be great at two things. You can have two sides of you. You can, and you can merge them when you need them.
Yes.
And when you want to.
Absolutely.
And so tell me why it was so important for you to take to your happiness and just your pursuit of fulfillment to make sure that you have the both things that you truly love.
I get bored easily.
You're like, I have ADHD. No, I'm kidding.
I just, it was, well, okay. So with the law degree, it's a lot of critical thinking and analysis. It's a different type with the PhD. And so it's also a different language.
Right.
So I went back for the PhD and I debated this for 3 years, and I could have had the degree in 3 years.
Yeah.
But I debated it because I was like, do I really need to go back? And so what I was like, you know what? I went to a conference and I sat in a presentation and it felt like it was a different language. And I went home and I told Jason, who was like, why do you need to go back to school?
And you're like, do you realize I was 14 when my parents put me in boarding school in Spain and I had to either sink or swim? Like, I'm feeling that same feeling where something's new to me.
Yes. And it sounded like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. And I said, I want to learn that language. And so that was the driving factor to go back for the PhD, to learn the language, to learn other ways to advise clients, to do a survey and look at predictive value. And
to learn
a lot.
To learn to not only make your thoughts, but have your thoughts have weight, because we can do research to support it.
Yes.
It's really more of, that's what I find so interesting about the PhD. But do you think you were set up from the beginning? Like your dad was like, you or your mom, like you can do anything. So this is why you're like, every 3 years I'm going to.
I don't know where that comes from, to be honest.
And are you an only child, brother and sister?
I have a younger sister. We're 5 years apart.
Okay.
And she does PR.
Okay.
So
both
so different type of thinking with her brain.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is that I just kept going.
Yeah.
And at one time my parents were like, you're never going to stop going to school, are you?
Like, I'm a professional student.
And I said, I love school. And really I love options. So I said, I do what I love. And whether it's the law or marketing and working with athletes or, it's what I love. And to wake up every day and do something that you love is, I think, what we all should strive to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And what classes are you teaching right now?
This is the fun part. So I went from not teaching law to just solely focusing on sales and marketing.
Okay.
So now I'm at a place where I teach marketing, but I also teach entertainment law.
Oh, that's awesome.
So those two sides.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I teach them on the same day.
Okay.
And in the morning, I'm very analytical.
Yes.
Thinking about problems and how do we solve them if we get in trouble, and how to be proactive rather than reactive.
Right.
And then the afternoons, I teach marketing, and it's let's be creative now.
Right.
What can we do to really help our client? And so at the end of the day, I'm exhausted because I have used both sides of my brain, and so, but it's so much fun. And it's in the entertainment law class. It's nice because I go back to my roots, where, I loved working with artists and songwriters and thinking about ways to help them. And so in that class, it's not just music. We do all facets of entertainment. So I start with music, and then we go to film and television. We do live performances and Broadway, and then I do digital and new media. I know. Yeah. It's
amazing. Well, because especially when you hear like the writers go on strike and you hear all of these things, to the person that's like, layman to it or whatever, you're like, wait, I don't understand. And you're like, no, they get royalty checks. Like they get royalty checks. And if that's not negotiated correctly, that's in their contract.
Yep.
And I think it was somebody was talking about like how much, I read an article about like Married with Children, like how much like Ed O'Neill got versus how much like Christina Applegate got just because of who negotiated their contracts.
Absolutely.
And you're like, and you sit back and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It matters.
It does matter. Yeah.
Because just like an athlete, sometimes in entertainment, your career isn't as long as you would like it to be.
Absolutely. So that's what I talk about in the morning.
Yeah.
And then when I go into the marketing class, I used to teach it when I was at Texas A&M. I taught it where we just partnered with a client and we came up with marketing ideas. It was let's see who we can partner with this semester. Right. When I got to USC, I wanted to kind of extend that passion I had for helping athletes and helping them with branding and marketing. And so my first semester at USC, I'll tell the story because I think this also goes to just some of the connections that people make that you don't realize the impact that you have on people.
Right.
So last summer, I get a phone call, and like most people, I'm looking, I'm like, I don't know that number.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not answering that.
Yeah.
But something said, answer it. And I answered it, but I answered it too late. So then, like most people, I'm like, let me look up what this number is.
Yeah.
And I look up the number, and what comes up in the search is the NBPA. And I'm like, who do I know with the National Basketball Players Association?
Right.
And I'm like, I know people, but who's calling me?
Yeah.
And so I click on the link, and it's a former student I had when I was at Georgia State.
Oh my God.
That I taught in 2014. He left to go work with an agent. And that's all I knew. So I call back, and he answers. And he said, I'm looking back. It's been 10 years. And I'm looking back over my career, and I'm calling to thank you. I thought I was going to cry because I was like, well, what did I do?
Yeah.
And he said, when this agent called and said, I'm looking for your best student that wants to be in this field, you referred me. I ended up getting the internship. I went out to Vegas, interned. I then ended up partnering with him. I'm now at another firm, and we're thinking of how I can even work with his clients because he wants to retire. And he said, but I wanted to thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. Because I just didn't know. The small connection I made to help him fulfill his dreams turned into something to where he had 27 clients in the NBA that he was working with. And so I said, I have an idea. And I said, are any of your clients interested in working with my marketing class to come up with ideas for their businesses? Oh my God. Because it's not just that they're currently playing. They have business ventures they're working on. They're entrepreneurs.
Yeah, of course.
They're looking at longevity.
Yeah.
And what happens when I can't play anymore.
Right.
He said, I have some ideas. Let me get back to you. So he gets back to me in about a week, and he says, I have 3 athletes that want to partner with your class.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, okay. And so we worked with the agent. We worked with his 3 clients in the marketing class, and the students pitched marketing ideas to these athletes. And what was so amazing is the agent, he came to campus, met with the students. He met with them through Zoom if they had any questions that they wanted to ask the athletes. He came back the final day they presented, but what made it even more phenomenal, the 3 athletes logged on to listen to their presentations and give the students feedback. Yeah, amazing experience.
I could not, and University of South Carolina is so lucky to have you creating this program, right?
Yeah, they told me.
But not all professors are willing to pony up in that way or make connections in that way.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, I could be wrong with this, but is there a topic that you're researching right now too? Are you thinking of publishing again?
So I have a few things in the pipeline.
Okay.
Well, I guess the first thing I need to mention is I published my first textbook. It's a legal liability textbook for recreation, hospitality, and events. It's in its fifth edition, but I came on this the first time I've done it, but it's risk management focused. And my co-author, J.O. Spengler, was phenomenal in being, I want to say, just a great mentor because I'd never done this before. And so the book is out. We're hoping people will adopt it because it's just a really cool way to look at the law. But then, of course, on the other side, with my marketing half, I'm working on some athlete entrepreneurship research, and so I think that is where things are going now to look at ways that they can continue to build their businesses and use their brands that they built while they were playing. So,
and that's all. And I know you know about Athletes Charitable and United
yes.
Charitable, but that's where it really came from with the Athletes Charitable side of things. I just saw it missing.
Yeah.
Adding philanthropy into that, into their branding, adding and creating a second life for them around giving back.
Absolutely.
Because you're right, we have to live our passion.
And so I'm looking at it from both for-profit and
nonprofits.
And so I've been intrigued by the My Cause, My Cleats program
Yes.
that NFL does.
Yep.
I've been told the NBA does something a little similar.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make some connections to be able to maybe work with these entities and how to help the athletes really build those businesses and to identify what they're passionate about and just how to make it work and build a team around them to help them move it forward.
And why athletes?
You know, it's interesting because I guess I started out as an athlete.
Right. So like, are you a big sports fan? Are you a football fan, a baseball fan? What are you? Are you none of it?
I'm all of them.
Okay.
And I enjoy watching every type of sport there is. And that's why I worked with basketball, football.
Okay. So you don't have a favorite there? There's not one that's ranked above?
Not sport-wise,
okay.
They aren't. But I will throw in that I also played soccer in Europe, football, when I was younger as well, so a teenager. And so I have a love for all different types of sports. And really, I think now with the growth in women's sport and the attention that it's getting, it excites me that's where we are. And there's still so much farther we have to go, though.
Right.
But I love seeing the attention that it's getting. But there are still people who are like, it's women's sports.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Do we have to have this conversation?
You're like, do you not know? But what do you think about, really that making if an athlete's branding is done correctly, how do you really think it can affect change?
I think the possibilities are, I want to say, limitless because whatever they are interested in, if they've taken the time to really cultivate a following and to have people who are willing to support them in whatever ventures they decide, whether it's activism or if it's on the business side, that people are going to listen. And I think that's an amazing power that they have and influence that most of them don't realize they have that kind of influence. And I think about with regards to the activism, and that's another piece I'm working on as well. I know I got so much in the pipeline. It's not even funny, but
you find time for all of it. Like I'm exhausted thinking about your plate.
I'm exhausted. But I love it. And so this is such an interesting field because I do peer-reviewed research, which means that before it's actually published, it goes through rounds of review. And sometimes you get, oh, this is great, let's do major revisions. Sometimes you get, this is a reject, kind of with my dissertation that I eventually got published. And so you're putting literally your heart and soul into this work, and someone could read it and be like, no. And so what I see value in is having impact with my research, not just with the academic community, but with practitioners and the public. And so I want agents to read my work and say, oh, this is a great thing I can do for my client. And this is someone I want to even talk to my client and know that I don't want to do the traditional agent side of things.
Right.
I want to help with branding and marketing.
And I think it's so interesting that this is the space that you're in because it's unique, right? Like there's not, but tell me why you really feel that if somebody does it right, it can make them live a more purposeful life.
Well, if they do it right, it opens so many doors for them that may not have been open before. And people want to be aligned with athletes who do it right.
Yep.
And so if they follow the steps and they have a strong positive brand, you're going to get partnerships with companies. You're going to get partnerships with other people who want to work with you. And it's not just the consumer side of things.
Right.
Because you need that network for people to say, I want to help you reach whatever goals you want. And if you want to give back to the community, I want to help you give back.
Right.
And I think that's why they need to really focus on what the brand is. I remember early on when I got into marketing with athletes, we had someone approach us and say they wanted to go after endorsements. And I'll be candid with my response to them was, I wouldn't introduce you to my grandmother because your brand is so horrible, like as a human. And so that's a problem.
Right.
And so one of the things I started thinking about prior to NIL was how do I reach athletes to help them think about branding at an early age?
Right.
It's now very different with NIL, but I thought that if I can help them early on,
Right.
they won't make the bad decisions of posting things on social that are inappropriate to where they lose scholarships or college opportunities. And I've also thought about, okay, well, some of these programs, even for younger athletes, are telling them not to post on social. But social is powerful.
Right.
And so I was like, why not teach them how to use it the correct way? And so I have another project focused on coaches and branding. And so when I was at Texas A&M, I worked with the Coaching Academy, and that's what I did. I did workshops on how to best use LinkedIn and how to build their brand so that they can have career satisfaction to help with recruitment. And even if they want to change jobs.
Right.
One of my really good friends actually started out as a middle school football coach.
Okay.
And within, I want to say, a 5-year period, he ended up being a coach in the NFL. Yeah, he has a very interesting story. And so I was like, this is intriguing to me because he did the right things for his brand to get him to the highest level that we know of.
And it's interesting because I think you brought it up maybe a couple minutes ago. It's that you don't know what that one opportunity is.
No.
You don't know that one connection.
Nope.
You don't know that one phone call that you may or may not take.
Right.
You have no idea. And
Yes.
keeping yourself open.
Absolutely.
And also keeping yourself in a place where you can get rejected.
Yes.
That's not easy.
No, it's not.
And so how do you stay open for the connection and the rejection?
Rejection is still hard.
Yeah.
And so even when someone tells me no, well, I usually take the approach of if I don't ask,
Yeah.
then I don't have the opportunity.
Right.
And so no is still something to learn from. And so when I'm writing, if a journal says no, it's like, why did they say no?
Right.
If a client says no,
Yeah.
why did they say no? And it's fun. I'm going to tell this story. And I remember when I first started practicing entertainment law, I had a potential client approach me about me working with them.
Yeah.
And they told me they didn't want to work with me. And I asked them why. And I know this is a G-rated show, but they told me I wasn't bitchy enough.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yes.
I would like to thank Athletes Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. Athletes Charitable offers a concierge membership service that provides the tools and resources to build a legacy through service. Our athlete-led team has the first-hand experience and expertise to provide hands-on support that simplifies the entire process for athletes and entertainers to reach their social entrepreneurship goals and create lasting impact in their communities. To learn more, check out the link in the bio.
They wanted a bulldog, and I was not that. And I was like,
You're like,
I don't have to walk around mean all the time to be good at what I do.
right.
And the fact, I think, and just putting it out there, they never would have told a man that.
No,
Yes.
no.
Yeah. And I tell my students that story, and they're like, what? And it is. It's appalling, but it's also, I think, almost a motivation
Yeah.
to say, you know what, you're just not the right client for me if
Right.
that's what you think I should be.
So when I got out of college, I decided to be a financial advisor, and I had to be on the phones cold calling Monday night from like 6:30 to 8:30, right? And this is when you were still, there was not a
Yep.
do not call list. This is when you were still like using the phone book, guys, right?
Right.
Dating myself here. And I remember everybody in the bullpen. So there's a bunch of us who were all cold calling, right? And we got to leave once we hit 2 appointments. Once we made 2 appointments, we got to leave. And at first, I remember like the phone being the scariest.
Yes.
I was 21 years old. I just graduated from college, and I was having to cold call, and I'm full Jersey accent at this point too. It's come down a little bit. And it was the scariest thing I've ever thought I had to do in my life. And I was panicking. And I remember this person that was like 2 years older than me that was not I thought I was smart, right? So like I was like, and he just picked up the phone, and it was like nothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pretend like it is nothing.
Yes.
And I am just going to do it. And I remember the first night, I think I got rejected like 34 times.
Absolutely.
And I set 1 appointment. Everybody was so proud of me
Yes.
for that 1 appointment.
Yes.
Nobody talked about the 34 no's, the hang up right away, like the whole, and I was like, oh my God. And it's because I had one older woman come and talk to me and say, you're a young girl that just graduated from college. You know what you're going to get to these people with if they have kids? That your dad put you through college with a 529 plan. Start talking from your own experience, how important it was to have college paid for, that you're not leaving school with student loans.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not going to work.
Absolutely.
I set my first appointment. I got rejected 34 other times. But from then on, I did it for 3 years, like the cold calling and financial advising. And it was that one older person that looked at me and was like, you're going to sell 529 plans? Like you can't get out, like, because that's your experience. You just graduated from college without debt.
Yeah.
And how grateful you are to your parents. And they put away $100 a month since the time you were, do you know what I mean? Like all these things. And it was one person. Could you imagine if I didn't listen to that person? Because it was funny because I remember being like, she's in her 40s. Like she's so old now. I'm in my, she's so old and now I'm in my 40s. I was like, I'm young. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if I chose not to take that advice?
So when I teach the sales class,
Yeah.
I tell them it's a comfortable space.
Yeah.
You're going to get no. You're going to get more no's than you are yeses, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And so they would get on the phones, and I remember doing the training with them, and I would have people look at it like this
Sales script. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I was like, just dial it. Just dial it.
Yeah.
And they dial and they get a voicemail.
Yeah.
And so they read their voicemails.
Yeah.
And so as we progress through the class, I get students who say, I've learned to perfect my voicemails.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a good thing. You've learned something. And I tell them, I said, I'm not expecting you to sell in this class. And we partnered with one of the best NBA teams at Texas A&M, the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, wow.
So they were selling tickets for the Spurs. And I said, even the best salespeople have off days. So why would I expect you to sell?
That's amazing.
So come into it. I want to see you try. And I only ask for 30 leads. Make 30 phone calls.
Yep.
Maybe that's 30 voicemails.
Yeah.
But they would get to the point where they're like, I want somebody to pick up.
Yeah.
Will somebody please answer me?
Right.
But what was so cool about that class at Georgia State and at Texas A&M, I had people who had never thought about selling, and because they felt like they were going to be good at it.
Well, and also when you talk about selling, a lot of people think used car salesmen.
Yes.
And they
High
don't.
pressure.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, or you're selling something, you can sell something you're incredibly proud of and it be
Yes.
beneficial for both of you.
And a lot of them, like the pitch is always, I'm a student at
Yeah.
whatever university, my class is partnered with
Yeah.
this team, and, you know, I want to learn about your experience at the game.
Yeah.
But just have the conversation.
Yeah.
And then I get some, hey, I got these tickets, you want to buy them? I was like, you're going to get the quick no.
Yeah.
But they learn to talk to people. And so I remember during COVID where we had, there were no sports. And so I had a young lady who was in a sales position.
Yeah.
And they had to call people to figure out what they wanted them to do with their tickets. And so she sends me this email. She said, we had to make these phone calls and everybody in the room was nervous. And she said, I picked up the phone and I just started calling. Because of your class, I was comfortable with picking up the phone.
That's amazing.
And I was like, okay, all right, it works.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah. And so I get stories like that where I've gotten people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I've taught them to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Because that's, if we spend our whole life being safe.
Yes.
And are comfortable. I always say that I want to be in cell A1, right? Like in my comfortable Excel spreadsheet. You know, like in my quadrants. Like if I spent my whole life, then I would have had none of these experiences.
Yes.
And the doors would not have been opened if I didn't tell people what I wanted, what I thought, why I thought it was a good idea. And here's the other thing. People can always choose not to follow you.
Yes.
And it was really funny when I realized that too. I was like, oh, well, then I'm just telling people what I believe in. And then if they want to come with me, great. If they don't, great.
Right.
It took the pressure off.
Yes.
But I think as women, we have to learn, that at some.
Yeah.
That was hard for me with, you know, kind of, rising through the ranks of like, and also knowing that I can be in accounting, like I can teach community college at night. I can be a mom.
Yeah.
I can be the CEO of a company.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to love all those things.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean I'm a bad CEO when I love my kids. It doesn't mean I don't care about my students when I'm here doing the podcast.
Right.
It actually means all of it makes me a better whole.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. And it's this journey. And like you said, I've done a lot of different things and had some very different and unique careers that have all come together at this moment. And so I use that to mentor, to help others who may want to go this path. And I think that's probably the thing I'm most proud of is the work that I've done with my PhD students. Most of them have been women. I've had one male that I've chaired. And so, but I've been on, I want to say, a little over 20 committees, but I've chaired or co-chaired 8. And I was at a conference and I was able to get a picture with, I guess I got 5 of my 8 in this picture. And that is probably one of the pictures I'm most proud of, to see how far they've come and how far they can go.
Right. And who they're going to inspire.
Yes,
like your ripple effect.
Yes. Yeah. So I had my first PhD student was there, my second. I have 2 current ones now, but it just looking at that picture and seeing just the impact that I've had on them. And because oftentimes we don't think about how we touched others.
Yeah.
And they tell me that they're thankful for what I've invested in them. Because it's when you become a PhD advisor, this is someone's life that they've entrusted their career to you. And for me, I take it seriously.
Right.
And sometimes that means putting my own research on the back burner to help further their research. But I've made sure that they also are working in athlete branding.
Right.
And so it still furthers my passion for helping athletes, regardless of whether I'm first author or second author on a publication.
And now you have a little army, not a little, but you have an army of people researching.
Yes.
And I mean, that's amazing because now we're affecting change in a very different way, in a fact-proven way.
Yes.
And I think that's so incredible. Yeah. Well, Natasha, thank you so, or should I call you Dr. Bryson? I'm sorry, Doctor.
Hey.
Do you go by, what do you,
Dr.
Bryson is what students call you?
But I think before we close out, one of the quotes that I love sharing with my students, and I want to end with this. It's the Maya Angelou quote about people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's what I do anytime I come in contact with anyone, that I want them to remember how I made them feel in that singular interaction. And if we have more than that, it's great, but I want them to feel like they were heard and they were empowered in our conversation.
Well, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I think it's really inspiring what you're doing. And I love that you're letting people be more than just one thing.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Find Inspired Changemakers on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and comment on all the awesome things you are doing to make this world a better place. Don't forget to subscribe.